This is why we're here today, because the tenants are calling for ownership of this building. They're looking for a big change. They're looking for a peace of mind and not just a band-aid solution to a something that's been going on for so many years.
It's been said already. I wish I didn't have to be here, but we're here because things are really wrong. That's why we're here. Things are really wrong, and that needs to change. Oheb Shalom, Mr. Oheb Shalom has shown us who he is. And long before we knew who he was, we were dealing with the consequences of his neglect of both these buildings. Imagine waking up in the middle of the night with smoke throughout the building and the smell of burning oil because of a boiler that was never maintained. Imagine fighting cancer and not having heat and hot water. Imagine so many rats running around these two buildings that at night you thought the ground was moving. Yes, these are some of the things, the conditions that we've had to endure for decades. We, the tenants, know what we want for these buildings. We want these buildings out of the hands of Mr. Oheb Shalom and converted into co-ops.
Yes.
Affordable co-ops.
Yes.
So that we can live without the fear of another slumlord taking over these buildings. And we will keep fighting until we get what we want. We will not stop.
Yes.
I only hope we live long enough to see it.
Yes.
That's all I have to say. Thank you.
Yes. Excellent.
Before his name was on the list, we already knew he was one of the worst landlords in New York City because unfortunately the residents of our districts have had to deal with the neglect that is living in these two buildings. Yet they have chosen to stay. And I want to uplift that. They want to stay in their buildings. Why? Because this is their home. I was here and I walked around and I could tell you that we know that New York City has some of the biggest rats in the world probably, but a lot of them live down there in that basement where the tenants were forced to drop their garbage. We've seen holes in the walls. We've seen ceiling collapses here. We've seen leaks. We've seen mold. Every single condition that you could imagine that is not compatible to human dignity exists in these buildings. And they exist in these buildings because of the neglect of the landlord.
18 months ago, we came here to announce our worst landlord of that year, and Daniel Abshalom and Jonathan Santana topped that list. And since then, the strength of the tenants have really shown what can be done when we step up, because we have said continuously that nothing will change until landlords who are like Daniel Abshalom lose their homes or get arrested and are sitting in jail. Hold people accountable for what they're doing, because we've been saying for so long, it is criminal. What we saw here in 705 and 709 is shocking. And that's all across the city. And so it's so much the cost of doing business that this property owner thought absolutely nothing was going to happen to him. But boy, was he wrong. If there ever was an example that we wanted to show not only what happens when you don't do what you're supposed to do as an owner and what we can allow tenants to do for themselves, it's right here and it's right now.
Yeah.